And we're live.
Good evening. Thanks everyone for joining us today for our Tax Resources webinar. Now that filing season is underway, I wanted to bring together a panel of experts to speak about important changes for this year and to provide you with the best guidance on getting your return processed in a timely manner. So as we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to highlight several programs Congress passed under the American Rescue Plan that impact your tax filing this year. The ARP included a third round of stimulus checks that you should have already received if you were eligible. If for any reason you did not receive it, you can claim the balance on your 2021 tax filing. The tax credit, which provided up to $3,000 per child for many families around the country to help make ends meet, was also bolstered by the ARP. The IRS began dispersing these tax credits in monthly installments beginning in July, but you may need to claim any remaining balance on your tax return. I appreciate the work the IRS has done to enact these new programs while continuing to process millions of tax returns. I know many IRS employees have faced the same workplace challenges as the rest of us throughout the last 2 years. So once again, I want to thank everyone who came in day after day to ensure our country continued to move forward and to bring direct aid to families. As I mentioned last year, the pandemic has absolutely highlighted the need for the investment in the infrastructure of federal agencies like the IRS so that responsiveness can be improved under these situations. And my office has continued discussions with IRS officials to discuss ways Congress can provide additional support to the agency. In particular, I'm helping to lead a bipartisan effort in the House to have the IRS prioritize policies that help reduce the backlog currently facing the agency, such as delaying certain tax collection programs and reallocating those resources to reducing the backlog, streamlining the penalty appeal and return amendment processes, and providing targeted tax relief to filers. We're working with the Treasury Department to hopefully get these policies implemented as soon as possible. In addition, I'm a very strong proponent of increasing appropriations for the IRS and Taxpayer Advocate Services, which will help the agency to reduce the backlog and provide more resources to assist taxpayers like yourselves. In last year's appropriations process, I helped to lead several funding requests for this critical additional funding, and I will lead this advocacy again in this year's appropriation legislation. In the meantime, the IRS strongly recommends that you file electronically and accept your refund by direct deposit in order for it to be processed as soon as possible. You should also review your return carefully for accuracy, as any errors can lead to delays. I recognize there are some people waiting for their 2020 returns to be processed. As always, my office is here to assist you with any issues you might have. Chris Williams and Cora Present are here from our casework team, so feel free to contact my office at 973-526-5668. Our first speakers today are Erica Sun and Glenn Gizzi from the IRS and their Taxpayer Advocate Service. They will be giving presentations on federal tax filings and other programs being administered by the IRS. Monica Conover from United Way of Northern New Jersey is also here, and their organization provides a range of services for families facing issues with housing, food, childcare, healthcare, technology, and transportation across NJ 11 in North Jersey. Monica will give a brief overview of how United Way can assist with filing your taxes. And finally, from the New Jersey Division of Taxation, Michael Kovacs will be giving a presentation on updates and information for state filings. I want to thank you all again for joining us today. Tonight's webinar will last about 1 hour, and we will have about 15 minutes for questions. If you have a question, please use the chat feature located on your screen. My team will follow up with you on any questions we don't get to live. So with that, I'll hand it over to Erica and Glenn, and thank you all so much.
Thank you, Congressman Sherrill, and thank you, Chris and Cora, for organizing this. I'm really happy to be here and to discuss tax filing tips for this tax filing season. As Congressman Sherrill mentioned, there's currently a huge backlog in terms of processing paper tax returns. So we really recommend that you try to file electronically and to make payments and to receive your refund electronically. Currently, there's about 10 million tax returns that are still not processed. The IRS is working through this backlog, so it's very important that people file their tax returns electronically. So today I'm just going to talk about some tips and reminders when you're preparing your tax return. Chris, can you upload the slides?
Yep, 1 second.
Great. All right. So you can go to you can skip over to the third slide, please. So while Chris is going to the third slide, I just want to explain, I'm from the Taxpayer Advocate Service. We are a part of the IRS, but we're independent organization within the IRS. We help taxpayers who are having issues with the IRS. So if you're having a exam issue, like you're being audited and you're not able to get in touch with the auditor or something, and you've been trying to reach them, or if you have an issue that is you're not able to resolve through normal channels of the IRS, and you've been trying, we can help you. Also, if you're facing some sort of financial hardship because of the IRS's actions, let's say they levied your bank account or they're about to levy it, we can also step in to help you. So I just want to
Erica, can you see the slides?
Yes,
Sorry.
perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect. Okay, so just a few reminders. As you're getting ready to prepare your tax return, you should make sure that you have all your documents in order. So for example, if you're a wage earner, make sure that you have your Form W-2 or your Form 1099, all of those forms together, and make sure that they're all complete. Because if you're missing one of these forms, it can cause a delay in the processing of your tax return. Also, make sure that the information on these forms is correct. Sometimes employers or financial institutions can make mistakes in terms of issuing these information returns. So make sure that you look at it and make sure it's correct. And if there's any issues, then contact your employer or the financial institution to make sure that everything is accurate. Next slide, please. As I explained, the reason is that the IRS receives the same information from the financial institution, employer, etc., and they compare the database, that information which is in their database, with what's on your return. So if you're missing a form, income information on your return, or the withholding information is incorrect, that will delay the processing of your return. The IRS won't be able to process it because there's a discrepancy in what's in the database that the IRS has and what's on your return. So it's really important that you know all your income and on your return is correct and that you've reported everything. The IRS also has something called wage and income transcripts, which is the information returns that the IRS receives from third parties such as employers and financial institutions. And that lists all the income information that you received. However, that information isn't really available until May. So if you have any sort of concern that maybe you're missing some documents, you can file an extension. If you owe money, you should pay that timely, but reporting your taxes can be done, with an extension so that you can verify the information. So it's called a wage and income transcript, and that's generally available around May, and you can get it through the IRS website, Get Transcripts. Next slide, please. Okay, it's important that you double check the information on the return. So you check the income information, check also the income information for your dependents, your spouse, the social security numbers, the names. The IRS has, as I said, they have computer systems that are checking everything. So, transcribing errors will result in processing delays. So it's very important that you double check your work. Next slide, please. And also, if you're having somebody prepare your tax return, it's really important that you check their work as well, because it's really, mistakes are very common. So it's important that you review the return that was prepared by your return preparer and make sure that all the information is correct. Also check for any credits or deductions that you're eligible for. You can check on the IRS website, irs.gov, for information related to credits and deductions. Next slide, please. Again, you can get some family related credits. You can look on the IRS website for that information. Next slide, please. So as Congressman Sherrill mentioned, you most likely, if you received an economic impact payment stimulus check, please make sure that you report that information correctly. Individuals who were eligible received about $1,400. So if you're married filing jointly, you may have received $2,800. If you have dependents, each of your dependents also was $1,400 each. So make sure that you check the amount you received and report that correctly. If there's any question about exactly how much you received, or if there was if you didn't receive all the monies because there was a change in address, or if you didn't receive what you were supposed to, then you should do something called a refund trace to make sure that you get the monies. So it's really important that you reconcile that information, because and you can check the account transcripts on the IRS website. It's called an tax return account or tax account transcript. And that shows what economic impact payments you received, as well as other credits you may have received and when you filed your tax return, etc. So if you're not sure, make sure that you verify that information. You probably did receive a letter from the IRS about exactly how much you received. But if you need to double check with the IRS account transcripts. Next slide, please. The advanced child tax credit, that will be discussed by Glenn Gizzi. So I'm going to leave that for later. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, earned income tax credit. Certain families are eligible for earned income tax credit. If you are applying for it, make sure that you use the earned income tax credit assistant tool and you provide accurate information about yourself and your spouse or your dependents. Names and social security numbers should be accurate. The filing status should be married filing jointly, head of household, qualified widower or single. You have to be a US citizen or resident alien all year. And you have to meet the rules for a qualifying child or have a qualifying child. Next slide, please. Here's more information about the earned income tax credit. Next slide, please. Okay, and there are some common errors that you have to really be careful about. As I mentioned before, make sure that the information on the return is accurate in terms of names and social security numbers. And also income and expenses on Schedule C also needs to be accurate. Next slide, please. Okay, there's other credits that you may be eligible for. You can look on irs.gov. Next slide, please. There's credits for dependents. You may be eligible for credit $500 for dependents who meet certain conditions. If your dependent is over 17, if you have a parent, etc. And that information available on the IRS website. Next slide, please. Okay, if you're reporting education expenses, make sure you have the form 1098T. The institutions, colleges, graduate schools should have issued that to you by now. If not, make sure you contact the college or university to get that form. Next slide, please. For last year, 2021, individuals are also eligible to claim cash contributions. They didn't have to itemize. They could do a standard deduction and also claim cash contributions for charity. So if you're made some charitable contributions, you should look at the rule and see if you're eligible to apply for that deduction as well. Next slide, please. Also the premium tax credit, make sure that you fill out the form correctly and attach it to the tax return if you applied for health insurance through the marketplace. Next slide, please. Okay, again, make sure that you have all the forms and schedules attached to your return before you submit it. If you have to file by paper, make sure, again, it's all attached and make sure it's all complete, and make sure you keep a copy for yourself. just because if there's something that, the IRS needs another copy of your tax return, it's important that you have a copy that you can supply to the IRS so that, it can be processed if there's any issues with the backup copy. Next slide, please. There is free tax preparation assistance provided through United Way. A presentation will be provided for that, and also through AARP. Individuals with, I believe, incomes up to 60,000 can get free tax preparation assistance, and it's a great service. They're trained by the IRS to prepare tax returns. Generally, they prepare tax returns that are straightforward, not Schedule C self-employment type of tax returns. So if you need a tax return prepared, the VITA sites, you can find where they are located through the IRS website. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and it's based on your zip code. So we also have a directory of federal tax return preparers available through the IRS website. And Taxpayer Advocate Service. We also have help pages about filing tax returns. Next slide, please. Again, make sure that you try to file your tax returns electronically. It's the best way to get it processed quick and efficiently, and make sure you use direct deposit or direct pay. Next slide, please. Okay, if you have to file a paper return, make sure you mail it into the correct place, and also use proof of filing, just in case, a way to track your tax return filing. Next slide, please. The IRS has help in terms of if English is not your first language, they have notices that are translated in various languages, and you can request that through Schedule LEP. Next slide, please. And then through the IRS web page, irs.gov/help/languages. Next slide. There's as I mentioned, Schedule LEP, the language preference. You can pick the type of notices in the language that you prefer to receive IRS notices in. You can make that preference request and attach it to your tax return. Next slide, please. And they have interpreter services available also, and these are the numbers for interpreter services. Next slide, please. We also have help for individuals who need to receive notices in large print or Braille or any other type of services. You can get help through this IRS telephone number, 800 tax form. You can also download it through irs.gov, the form. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, you can receive IRS notices in alternative media like large print or Braille. You have to fill out the form 9000 and mail it into the IRS, or you can call the number to get assistance. Next slide. And this is more information on the accessibility helpline for individuals who need large print or Braille. Next slide. Okay, I'm gonna leave questions for the end after Glenn's presentation. So I'm gonna stop here, and I'm gonna let Glenn speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. All right, I'm gonna share my screen here and just ask to make sure that you do see it.
Yep, you're all good, Glenn.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. And thank you very much, Congresswoman, for having us today. I'm going to cover a couple of quick things. And just the first thing I do want to say right up front is we will be making these PowerPoints available to the Congresswoman's office, so they will send it out to you. So don't worry if you didn't get a chance to copy down all the great information that Erica has and the information that I'm going to present. So getting ready for the filing season, that's basically what we're talking about today. And a lot of things have already been said. You should try to file electronically because that will make it a lot quicker in receiving your refund back if you're getting a refund. It's also much more accurate because the IRS will check your tax return within 24 hours to make sure that it is correct as far as the math and everything that's supposed to be attached to it. So if there is a problem, it will be sent back immediately to you and allow you to fix it and then continue to file electronically. Other things that are important, and it was partially mentioned already, is getting the information regarding the advanced child tax credit. We have several different types of credits. We have the child-related tax credit, we have the earned income tax credit, and there has been some changes. And as was mentioned at the beginning by Congresswoman Sherrill, there are several changes to the child tax credit that we did in 2021. The first was we made it an advanced child tax credit. We allowed people based on their prior filings to get up to 50% of what the perceived child tax credit was by dividing it amongst 6 payments between July and December of 2021. Now, people had an option of getting out of that and waiting until this year if they wanted to receive their amount in full, or they could have taken it and then they'll get the balance of it. In some cases, they might actually get more than half because it all depends on what's on your 2021 return. Remember, we could only base it on what you had previously filed. Another thing that we did was we increased the amount that was on the return, the age amount from 16 to 17. So it gave people an extra year in which to claim their child for this credit. We made the credit fully refundable, and we've increased the amounts that the credit is for. So this way, people who can receive additional amounts. So we increased it up to $3,600 for each child under age 5 and $3,000 for each child age 6 to 17. Now, it doesn't matter the children, if you as the parent do not have any income, it doesn't matter. You can still go ahead and file to claim this credit. But there are some things that we have to make sure of course. We have to make sure that the child has a social security number and the parent must have a social security number in which to receive this credit. They must be claimed as a dependent on your return and they must have lived with you. Now, of course, some of you might be saying in the audience already, but wait a minute, there are some situations where maybe you're divorced and one parent takes the child in the even year, one takes it in the odd year. If IRS based it on 2020's filing, that means the wrong spouse may have received the advanced child tax credit, and that is correct. If that happens, it doesn't affect the parent who is claiming the child. Let me just reiterate that. If you're the parent claiming the child for the 2021 tax year, but we sent the money to the other parent because it was based on the previous year, it's okay because it's not going to affect your return. You are still going to be able to claim the full amount of the child tax credit. We get that question a lot. We will deal with the money that we send to the other person. Okay, so it will not affect you. If you need some additional help on that, you really should look at publication 5585, which talks about the child-related tax credits, and that's very important. And again, that is something that will be on the information that we are going to send out. Okay, so we already said that we had paid this out monthly in the last 6 months of the year. Now, unfortunately, this program was designed to finish in 2021. It has not been picked up yet for 2022. And we don't have a crystal ball. And I know everybody in Congress is working on various things for this. It may come back later. We don't know. So if you're asking that question, unfortunately, we don't have an answer for it. But right now, we know it was a very good benefit for a lot of people. So hopefully it'll be something that comes back again. All right, let's go on to the next slide there. Now, it's important that, as was mentioned by Erica, that you always make sure you have all the information that you need in which to file. The reason for this is that if you don't have the proper information on your return, it's going to delay your return, and we don't want to delay your refund. But based on the pandemic, we have also lost a lot of employees to retirement. We want to make sure you get everything that you need. So the IRS is sending out a letter 6419, which is going to detail each amount that you receive, if at all, during those 6 months. When you get that letter, if you're using a tax practitioner, I encourage you to make sure you give that letter to the tax practitioner, because they're the person that's going to put that information on your return. If you're filling in your own return, make sure you have the letter with you, so when you get to that worksheet, you can put in how much you received. We don't want people to leave it blank if they receive money, because that will delay your return. I noticed a couple of questions in the chat box that were dealing with the unemployment compensation, and what happened if you filed your return before the law had changed. We had to make those adjustments. As you can see, in some cases, it took 6-7 months for the IRS to get people back their money. If you leave your economic impact payment information empty on your tax return, and you did receive some or all of the money, that is going to delay your return, and that did delay the returns last year for that. So as Erica said, and as I'm saying, is you really want to have a correct and complete return. So we're going to try to make sure we give you all the information so you can file a correct and complete return. So that starts with letter 6419 for the advanced child tax credit. Now, for the economic impact payment, as you remember, it was up to $1,400 in 2021 for taxpayers to receive. So we did send a letter out when you received the money, and that was a letter 1444C. But we do know that sometimes we do misplace our paperwork. So the IRS in January, just like it did with the advanced child tax credit, we sent out a letter 6475 detailing the amount that you receive for the economic impact payment. Now, if you didn't receive the whole $1,400, remember, it was based on your prior year filing. So when you do your tax return for 2021, it's now called the recovery rebate credit. You're going to put in how much you received from the letter, and it's going to determine if you should get up to that amount of $1,400, or if you received everything that you were supposed to get for that year. Now, if for some reason you never got the $1,400, or possibly lost the debit card, misplaced a check, something happened, well, we can't reissue any debit card or check now at this time because it's after December 31st. So you would have to do it on the tax return. So you would have to file a 2021 1040, and you can claim the recovery rebate credit, which is the same as the economic impact payment. And you can go through the worksheet very quickly, and it will determine if you should receive any of the monies. So that's where you would pick that up at. All right. So let's see what else. Earned income tax credit for 2021 has been expanded. We've expanded it for taxpayers who do not have qualifying children, because not everybody has a qualifying child. So therefore, we've increased that. We've also eliminated the 65-year-old cap. We've eliminated that cap. So if you're over 65 and you are still working, you can possibly get the earned income tax credit. Again, most taxpayers use some sort of tax program, and it will take that into effect and into account, and it will go through it and determine whether or not the taxpayer should get it. We've increased the maximum earned income tax credit for those with qualifying children up from, I read the wrong thing. We've increased it for those with no children from $538 up to $1,502. So nearly tripled the amount for people with no children. Okay. For people with children, we've, have the amount, and previously the limit was $10,000, $36,000, $3,650, and now it is up to $10,000 if for investment income. So what we've done is we've increased the amounts for the EITC to allow more people to qualify for it. And one of the best things that we did was we decided that you could use the 2019 earned income to use for your calculation for 2021 if it is more beneficial to you and will get you a larger earned income tax credit. That is done on the tax return. That is done through the tax program that you're using. And in some cases, some taxpayers will receive more EITC by using their 2019 amounts. Okay. We've also have the child independent care credit. We've increased the amount from $8,000 for one qualifying person, and up to $16,000 for two or more qualifying persons. We've also increased the phase out amount to allow more people to be allowed to use child independent care credit. We realize that a lot of people may have been out of work in 2021, but a lot of people had to go to work and had to pay for daycare. So we needed to increase the amount of the credit. This credit is mostly refundable for almost all taxpayers. As long as you have a house in or residence in the United States for the last 6 months of 2021, then you will have a refundable credit. If not, then the credit can be reduced to a non-refundable credit, but you would still receive something, okay? Charitable contributions were already mentioned by Erica, okay? So what do you need to do? Besides the 2 letters that you would have already received from the IRS, you have your W-2s, you have any 1099s, which are bank statements, dividends, unemployment compensation from the state of New Jersey. And also remember that if you do receive unemployment compensation from New Jersey, you have to download the 1099-G from the state's website. You want to have all this information together, because if you rush to file your return and you leave something off and then you have to file an amended return, while it's possible it may give you more of a refund, amended returns take a very long time. I'll go out and I'll state it. It's not going to be the 8 to 12 weeks that it's in the instructions. It's going to be a lot longer than that. So I'd rather you make sure you have all of your documentation together and do your return right, have everything on there and get the refund you need, even if it takes an extra 1 or 2 weeks for you to put everything together. That is one of the reasons why the IRS does not process earned income tax credit returns until mid-February, because we want to make sure that taxpayers have all their documentations together. While the filing season may have opened, I believe it was January 24th, we wait about 3 weeks before we start processing earned income tax credit returns, because we want to make sure that everybody has their information so they get all the money that they need right away and within a decent time frame, and not have to file an amended return. And in some cases, I've been in for 32 years and I've seen taxpayers file 2 or 3 amended returns because they keep rushing to do things, and it takes weeks upon weeks, months upon months to get all of their refunds. Okay, and as it shows you on the screen, make sure you have all of these letters. Make sure you have your health insurance marketplace statement. Okay, please use electronic filing. There are plenty of free file options that are out there for federal tax returns. You can use a commercial software. You can use a tax preparer, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you're going to do the return yourself, IRS has help on irs.gov where you can go through and make sure that you're filling things in correctly. Remember one thing, all of the tax software is beta tested through the IRS before it is released. So all of the information is there. So the tax software is good to use. And many of the tax softwares are actually free federally for people to use and file their tax returns. And again, also, if you can, use direct deposit, because that's going to be a lot faster. You're going to get your money more securely. We don't want people to misplace a paper check or have a paper check get lost in the mail or destroyed. All right. As soon as you have filed your return, after 24 hours, you can go to irs.gov and you can look at where's my refund, and you can get the information that you need to follow the progress of it. The average time frame for electronically filed return with direct deposit is approximately 21 days or less. So 3 weeks and you have your refund. So if you file electronically, so we urge you to do that. Also, if you want, you can go online to irs.gov and create a secure account for yourself where you can look at your own tax account anytime that you want. You can look at balances owed, refunds that were sent. You can, after, as Erica said, after May, you can get a wage and income transcript where you can download and see, oh no, I missed the W-2 I forgot about. Then you'd have to file an amended return. All right. A lot of information, a lot of interaction that you can do with the IRS can now be done without calling us or writing to us. You can go online. Of course, you're going to have to verify yourself. And in a lot of cases, taxpayers will use a credit card to verify themselves. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. If it's going to be something more complicated, we do have ID Me, which can take maybe an hour, but you'll get verified and you'll have access to your own tax account. All right. It's also a very secure account because we send you a changing code every time you want to access it. A 6-digit code will be sent to your phone, and that will change every time. All right. We talked about filing already, and the earned income tax credit is not going to be out just yet. This slide has links on it for additional information. So when you receive this, I urge you to look through that. And again, irs.gov is a very good source of information to go to. Don't feel like it's only for tax practitioners. irs.gov is for everybody to use. And we even have a video section called irsvideos.gov where you can find information on other topics. What if I do receive a lien, or what if I owe money, or something like that? You can go ahead and you can watch a short video of 5 to 10 minutes, and it will tell you what you need to do, what steps you can take. So it's not something to, that's so daunting to you that you don't know what to do. Okay, we are here to help. I know sometimes that could be considered a joke with the government. We're from the government, we're here to help, but it's true. IRS has been doing that. I've been here, like I said, 32 years, and I spent the last 17 doing exactly this, talking about education and giving information out to practitioners and taxpayers. So thank you very much, Congresswoman Sherrill, and thank you very much, Chris. I'm going to stay on. I'm going to look through some of the Q&A and see if I can answer some of those questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn, and thank you, Erica. That was a great presentation. We appreciate it. And we are going to share the slides with everyone who registered. So please look out for that in your email box. And I think Erica's in particular had a lot of great links and stuff like that. So please take advantage of those. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Monica Conover from United Way of Northern New Jersey. And she's going to discuss how their organization can assist you with filing your taxes.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Congresswoman Sherrill, for having me on tonight. And I want to say shout out to Erica and Glenn, because I know what you guys are going through, and I really appreciate everything you do and all the information. So thank you. But I'm a program manager for United Way of Northern New Jersey. I manage the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. We are an IRS grant funded program. We partner with Norwest Cap and RSVP and Greater Providence Missionary Baptist Church, generally covering Morris, Warren, Sussex, Somerset, and suburban Essex. But we do offer, we do, while we're in those counties, if people need to come from outside counties to come to our sites, they're more than welcome. We focus on low-income families and individuals, people with disabilities, English as a second language. And we have IRS tax law certified volunteers that are helping to prepare taxes for free. There's 3 options that people can have. They can come to drop off their tax documents with us. We will do the return virtually. They will come back and pick up, because because of COVID times, we're trying to keep everyone protected. The other option is we have a virtual portal. Clients can come on, they can complete the intake, upload their documents into a secure website, and then they will receive encrypted emails with their tax return, and we will review virtually through Zoom. And then the other option is that we have access to free software. It's called Facilitated Self-Assistance with TaxSlayer, and we can coach folks to do their taxes, their federal and their state taxes, for free. They're welcome to do it on their own, or we are available to coach them or answer any questions for them. And then I think the big thing that we're all talking about is the child tax credit. We're really reaching out. We want to get people that are non-filers also. Maybe they're on Social Security, they're in public assistance, but they've received the first half of the child tax credit. We really want to get them in the door so that we can help them get the second half of it. This can also be grandparents that are caring for grandchildren. So we really want to make sure that people know about our program and they're coming and getting their taxes done with us, because it's expensive to go out and pay to get your taxes done, and especially when you're on very limited income. We really want to encourage people to use our service. So I'm going to put our website and our phone number in the chat. And if there's any questions, please reach out to us. But otherwise, please share our information. And if we have any questions, I'll be around.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything United Way does, and thank you for joining us. And we'll make sure to include that contact info in the email we send out to everybody as a follow-up. So thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
So we covered our federal tax filings. Next, we're going to turn it over to Michael Kovacs from the New Jersey Division of Taxation, and he's going to cover some information on your state filings. Michael?
Yes, thank you. Give me one moment to share my screen. All right, hopefully if everything went okay, you should see a screen that says New Jersey Income Tax Updates.
Yep, you're all good, Mike. Thanks.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Kovacs. I'm with the New Jersey Division of Taxation. I want to thank you all for coming here. I want to thank our host, Congresswoman Sherrill. Chris, thank you. With me tonight on the back end is my colleague, Talisha McCall. So she will be answering questions through the Q&A function, so you can ask them live while I am speaking. With that said, I know we're short on time and it's not a lengthy presentation, but there is a lot to talk about. So let us get started. So what we're going to talk about tonight is basic New Jersey tax news, income tax updates, and resources for you at the end. New Jersey tax news. We are still offering relief for Hurricane Ida victims. Individuals and businesses are eligible if they are located in disaster areas or they have tax records that were located in disaster areas, and relief workers. So what does this get you? It gets you an extension of filing time from August 26th until actually today. So if you, and I understand I'm speaking to a mixed audience, some of you are just taxpayers, some of you are tax practitioners. So if you or your clients had to file anything within the span of August 26th to February 15th, and that could include an income tax filing that was on extension, homestead benefits, or property tax reimbursements, those are considered timely filed as long as they were filed by today, and those taxpayers were in disaster areas designated by Hurricane Ida. If you are sending in a paper return and payment due to this late filing, just write on top of the return, Presidential Disaster Relief Area, Hurricane Ida. If you're filing electronically, you're not really able to forewarn us, and this may result in a bill or a late filing penalty going out to you or your client. If that's the case and they are in one of the designated zones, don't panic. Respond to the notice stating such, writing that they were in Presidential Disaster Relief Area, Hurricane Ida, or requesting a full abatement of any penalties and interests, and whoever receives that will do their best to accommodate your request. Okay, now let's talk about the taxability of some income for New Jersey. First of all, federal stimulus checks not taxable to New Jersey. Unemployment benefits have not been taxable to New Jersey for a long, long time, and they remain not taxable. Pandemic unemployment assistance, non-taxable to New Jersey, and EBT benefits due to the pandemic are non-taxable to New Jersey. So all of this stuff is not taxable to New Jersey. And if you're not familiar with New Jersey forms, anything that's exempt or non-taxable, there's no line to put it on. You just do not put it on the return at all. Other forms of income are PPP loans, that's Paycheck Protection Program, non-taxable. Cancellation of debt is non-taxable if it is for income tax purposes, but if it was for corporate business tax purposes and it was deemed taxable by the IRS, then it is taxable for New Jersey as well. And I think we even got a question about some New Jersey grants earlier. Any New Jersey Economic Development Authority grants or New Jersey County COVID issue grants are non-taxable to New Jersey. And again, we will send you a copy of this PowerPoint, and you'll be able to click these links to go to our website to see more information on this. All right, now let's talk about general New Jersey income tax updates. Effective tax year 2021, combat pay is exempt for New Jersey income tax, and this includes combat pay for military service in a combat zone or for hospitalization as a result due to an injury while serving in a combat zone. And like I said a few slides earlier, this is not reported anywhere on the NJ 1040, which is our resident return, or the NJ 1040NR, which is our return for non-resident, unless the combat pay is taxable federally. Then that can change the taxability of it. But as a general rule, combat pay is exempt from New Jersey income tax. You simply do not report it at all on the return. If that's all you or your client has received, then unless they are claiming a refund of some kind of payments made through our system, there may not be any need to even file a New Jersey tax return. Now let's talk about changes to the Child and Dependent Care Credit. This is effective tax year 2021. It is now a refundable credit where previously it was non-refundable. And also the income limit to be eligible to claim this credit on our return has increased dramatically from $60,000 to $150,000. Other qualifications do remain the same. Of course, the individual, the taxpayer, must receive the federal credit. Federal makes the rules as to who gets the credit and why they get the credit. One of those is they must be working or actively looking for work or paying expenses for care of a child and or dependent. But the big takeaway here, it is now a refundable credit and the income threshold has increased dramatically. So if they get the credit federally and they qualify for it in New Jersey, how much should they claim for New Jersey? Well, it depends on the income of the taxpayer filing. As you can see from this chart here, and I'm not going to go through the whole chart for the sake of brevity, but depending on the income range of the applicant, they're going to be able to claim a percentage of the federal credit. So if they were $30,000 or under, they can claim 50% of the federal credit. If they're between $120,001 to $150,000, they can claim 10% of the federal credit. And again, it is a refundable credit. And the credit, of course, is based on the percentage of the federal credit only. The pension exclusion, this is a big one. Effective tax year 2021, the income limit to even be eligible for the exclusion has increased from the previous amount of $100,000 to $150,000. All other qualifications remain the same, such as age and disability. The taxpayer must be 62 years old or older or disabled as of the last day of the tax year. So if you were doing this for tax year 2021, come December 31st, they must have met this either one of these eligibility requirements. And there's also now a range of how much can be taken for the pension exclusion based on income. If the taxpayer has an income from $0 to $100,000 and they're married filing joint, they can claim up to $100,000 pension exclusion. Single head of household, qualifying widow or widower can claim $75,000 and married filing separate can claim $50,000. If they fall between these income categories here, that's going to limit the amount of pension exclusion they can take. It's going to be 50% of their pension. When I say line 20A, that is the pension line, 37.5 and 25% for these different filing statuses. And the income amount is based on the line 27 total income amount. So the other retirement exclusion, we talked about the pension exclusion just now. Some taxpayers may be eligible for the other retirement income exclusion, which is an exclusion we offer to taxpayers that have certain types of income that are under certain amounts. They have other income besides their pension. So the qualifications for that, they must be 62 years or old. Or older, and their earned income on these specific lines, wages, net profits from business, partnership income, S-corp income, what we like to call the earned income lines, must not exceed $3,000 cumulatively. So you add them all together. And if they qualify for that, they can take an additional exclusion amount based on their total income on line 27. So again, if they make between 0 and 100,000, they can go up to 100,000 for married filing joint, 75,000 for single head of household qualifying a widow or widower, and 50,000 for married filing separate. And this will probably make more sense if I actually get to some scenarios here. So here we have two different taxpayers. claiming the pension exclusion and or the other retirement income exclusion. They are married filing joint. Their ages are 65 and 68. So both of them qualify for the pension exclusion based on age alone. And their income is $110,000. So if I go back, you can see for the pension exclusion, $110,000 is going to put them at 50% of whatever the amount on line 20A was. And line 20A is the pension line. So they're going to be able to exclude up to 50% of their pension income. So in the first scenario, a very easy return, no wages, no interest, no dividends, no S Corp income. They just had pension income. It was $110,000, which limits them to 50%. 50% of $110,000 is $55,000. They can take that as their pension exclusion, netting them a total exclusion amount of $55,000. In scenario 2, we have a taxpayer. It's the same taxpayers, 65, 68, same income. However, their pension amount is different, and they also have wages and S Corp income. So they now qualify for that other retirement income exclusion. Well, being that their pension, they have to take 50% of that because of their total income, they can only exclude 50% of their pension. So in this case, if their pension was only $58,000, our system is only going to allow them to exclude $29,000. However, if they are eligible for the other retirement income exclusion, and in this scenario they can use whatever is left over, doing the calculation of $55,000 to exclude any other income. In this case, it could be up to $26,000. So of course, $26,000 plus $29,000 grants us the $55,000 limit that they can actually use. You mostly are probably using software to calculate this. And the software will do it for you. If you have yourself or your client doing a paper return, feel free to call us if you need any guidance on filling this out, because it can be confusing when doing it by paper because it has changed this year. Earned income tax credit. There has been some changes with that for New Jersey. For 2020, we allowed taxpayers that had no qualifying children that were aged at least 21 years old and under 65 to claim an earned income tax credit. This has been expanded this year to taxpayers that are 18 years and older. So 18 years up to whatever the oldest person is. Maybe that's, I don't know, 111 years old. I don't know what the oldest person on the planet was. Taxpayer, of course, cannot be listed as a dependent on another tax return. That is a big thing. And for 2020, the New Jersey earned income tax credit for a taxpayer with no qualifying child is $601 because that equals 40% of the federal earned income tax credit of a taxpayer with no qualifying child. So the big takeaway here is we have lowered the age limit, we have increased the age limit, and that's really it. They're still eligible. We have some new charitable funds for tax year 2021, the Meals on Wheels program. Taxpayers can either designate to give a portion of their refund, or they can enclose an additional amount as a contribution for that, but they must specify the code number of the organization on 29. Filing season reminders for this tax year. As of right now, pending any disaster or anything like that, the deadline for the state is April 18th, 2022. There are several options available to file the New Jersey return, e-file through software. We do have a program on our website for NJ online income tax filing. And of course, we still allow people to file a paper New Jersey 1040 return. But as Glenn was saying with the IRS, the same holds true with the state. Paper returns will take a longer time to process than those that are electronically filed. So if you or your client have the option of filing electronically, we encourage you to do so. We used to have a web file system on our website that is no longer available, and we traditionally hold off on issuing refunds until after a certain date, so we can make sure that we vet all of the returns that we've received up until that date. And that year it is March 3rd. So no matter how early you or your client file, we're most likely not going to issue any refunds at all before March 3rd. Now that really covers 2021 tax year, but this is just a heads up for what's coming up next tax year. Taxpayers with a gross income of 200,000 or less may be eligible for the following deductions, and these are contributions to NJ Best, NJ Class Program, and in-state tuition payments. So next year, if you or you are supplying the income for a family member to attend college, you or the client is going to have a bevy of other additional deductions to put on the return to reduce your income and thus your tax liability. And the question we always get is, well, what if I am in more than one of these programs? Can they add up? Yes, they can. That ends the update. Resources for you. If you or your client need assistance with a payment plan, they want to set up a new payment plan, follow the link on this PowerPoint. If they have a question about a new payment plan or even an existing payment plan, the payment plan unit now has its own unique email address, paymentplanunit@tres.nj.gov. So you can reach out to them, and they are very helpful. Who do you call for New Jersey if you need help, if you have questions? Our main hotline number is 609-292-6400. They're there Monday to Friday, excluding state holidays, from 8 a.m. And I believe some of them are even working extended hours. At this point, we're only putting it up till 4:30 p.m. So 8 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. Come tax time, though, those hours may be extended. And if that is so, we will post the extended hours on our social media sites. We also have regional offices still available in New Jersey. However, the amount of help we can give in person has been reduced. Only the Fairlawn, Galloway, and Trenton regional offices are going to offer in-person assistance. Because of the pandemic, there is still no walk-ins allowed. An appointment must be made by either the taxpayer or the taxpayer's legal representative. So if it is a tax practitioner, we're going to need this to bring a power of attorney. Those offices are open 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Once you get this presentation, you can click this link to make an appointment, or you can go on our website to do the same thing. What you should know before you or your client comes to the office: you must wear a face covering. Everybody, including employees in the office, must wear face coverings. No one may accompany you except if it is for translation purposes. And as has been the case for many, many years, no cash payments are accepted. So if you or your client are coming in to make a payment, you can bring a check or a credit card, and we can do that electronically with the credit card, or of course the account and routing number on the check. So what to bring? All necessary documents. If you're disputing the amount of withholdings we are granting you, we're going to want to see any and all W-2s related to those withholdings. We're going to need a government issued ID, whether it be a driver's license, an ID card, something like that. And again, if it is a client representing a taxpayer that is coming in to the office, bring the power of attorney. Our website, this is big. Our website has recently changed. It used to be njtaxation.org. It is now nj.gov/taxation. And you can do many things on our website. You can download forms, file returns, make payments, find answers to questions. We have a full library of publications, guidance, help. You can upload documents using our NJ Honor system, which is a great system, cuts out the mail entirely. You can just electronically send us whatever documents we are requesting or documents you need to get to us. We are, again, our website address has changed, nj.gov/taxation. If you want to go to our website, we have social media presence. I encourage follow us at least on one of these, Facebook or Twitter, because if there are any changes, we are of course going to update our website. But as you all know, it is a lot easier to make a post on Facebook or send a tweet on Twitter than it is to update an entire website. So this information will most likely come out before that. So it's just another helpful tool for you and your clients. We do have videos on our YouTube page, such as how to file sales tax, things like that. And many of them are in Spanish as well. So if you're Spanish speaking or if you have Spanish speaking clients, it is a great resource to point them towards. We have LinkedIn and Instagram accounts as well. Pick your favorite social media site and follow us. With that said, thank you. That completes the New Jersey portion of this presentation. Thank you all for coming out here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. That was very helpful. So we've been monitoring the chat box and we want to get to some of your questions. Our panelists have actually been answering a lot of them directly into the chat box. So please check that to see if there was any updates there. But some of your questions definitely bear repeating to the whole audience. And there's a few that came in just in the last few minutes. So I'd like to start. We obviously have a number of people that are experiencing a delay in their 2020 return. So one question we've been getting is, do they have to wait for that to be processed before they file for 2021? Erica, can you clarify that?
Well, it depends. I think that the problem with it not being processed is that if it's not in the system, when you file your 2021 return, it's going to ask you for your adjusted gross income for the prior year. So if your adjusted gross income information is not in the database, then you should put 0. But I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. Glenn, do you want to answer that question?
So you're asking about the delay, because I was answering another question. I'm sorry.
So sorry, yeah, I can repeat it. So if your 2020 hasn't been processed yet, should you wait to file 2021 or can you go ahead? I know there's something you can do with
there is some debate on that, Chris. To be honest with you, from my standpoint of my experience of 32 years, I would wait. The reason is that some of the information that's on the 2020 return is going to affect things on the 2021 return, such as the earned income tax credit, the advanced child tax credit, things like that. I would wait, if you can, a few more weeks. Wait about 2 weeks, call the 1-800-829-1040 line. And yes, do some other things and multitask while you're sitting online waiting, and see if there's an update. And once that 2020 return is processed, then you can go ahead and e-file the 2021 return. What you can do is you have your information from 2020. You can go ahead and prepare the 21 return, just not send it yet. I would wait a few weeks to do that. Okay, because if something happens and we have to go back and we change something on 20, it may affect 21. And we really don't want to have too much of a delay for the taxpayer. I would generally wait. Other people would tell you, practitioners will tell you, just go ahead and file it. Other people will say, just file it and get it. But I'm trying to avoid unnecessary refiling by the taxpayer.
Thanks, Glenn.
Well,
and along those same lines, a 2020 return that hasn't been processed. Erica, could you cover at what point they should ask for assistance either from our office or directly through Taxpayer Advocate Service?
Yeah, so if you filed a paper return and it hasn't been processed and you mailed it in 5 months or longer, you can contact Congressman Sherrill's office, Congresswoman Sherrill's office, or you can also contact my office directly by filing a Form 911. The IRS website does give updates as to how far along they are in processing tax returns. I believe the last time I checked, it was up to April 1st, 2021. So returns that have been mailed in by April 1st, they have processed them. If you file before April 1st and you haven't gotten your refund yet, then we need to figure out what's going on. It may be that it had an error and that's why it's not been processed, or it may be that you need to refile it. If that's the case, if you need to refile it, I would recommend again that you file it electronically. The other issue that I've noticed is that if, let's say you made a payment and you sent it by check, and the IRS is sending you notices, the IRS has said that they would not start collections on any of these, returns that they haven't processed. So although they will send you a notice, the first notice you have a balance due, they are not supposed to take any sort of collection action against you. They're trying to stop these notices. They're trying to stop them, but they should not be taking any collection action against you for balance dues when they haven't processed the return or the payment, they haven't credited to your account. If for some reason, they do send you a, notice of intent to levy, you can contact my office, file a Form 911. The fax number is 855-818-5695. The Form 911 is available on the IRS website, or you can send an inquiry through Congresswoman Sherrill's office. But they're not supposed to take any collection action against people whose returns they haven't processed or checks they haven't, processed. So just going forward, just make sure that you are doing your payments electronically. Checks, it takes a very long time for them to process these checks. So everything should be done electronically again. And also check the IRS account transcripts to see if the payments have been credited.
If I could add on to that, Erica and Chris, if you go to irs.gov and you type in the word direct pay, you will find that you can make your payments to the IRS directly through the website, right from your bank account. You'll get immediate notification that the payment has been made. The check will not have to be sitting in a mail room waiting for it to be processed. And that's, one of the things that delays it. If you're writing the check, then you have the money to pay it. So if you use direct pay, it'll take you about 5 to 7 minutes to go through it the first time. We don't keep any of your banking information. So if you have to make another payment later, such as if you're on an installment agreement or you only made a partial payment and you go back on, you just type in your information again and you electronically send it to us, just like an electronic federal tax return. We can take the payment that way. There is no charge for that. Okay. And you know that it's secure because it's secure. And second, you get the notification the payment has been made and you're getting the credit as of that date. So that's always a good way to go electronically. The less paper we could do makes it a lot quicker and easier because the computers can work a lot faster than individuals can. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. And if anyone's at the point where they do need assistance on their on a delayed tax return, you can reach out to our office. The number is 973-526-5668. Again, that's 973-526-5668. And you can also send us an email through our website. It's sherrill.house.gov. And we will follow up with you and we'll work with Erica and the Taxpayer Advocate Service to find out what's going on and see how we can help. So our next question, we have time for a couple more here. We have one person who purchased Bitcoin on Robinhood, but it sounds like they didn't realize the tax implications at the time. So they were referred to a tax professional here in the chat box, but can we just confirm this is an area that's ever growing and people have questions? Are cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all that, is that taxable, Glenn? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Basically, it's an asset that is sold. And if you sell it at more than what you purchase it for, it's taxable. We actually do tend to stay away from virtual currency presentations. We're really not doing them at this time. But I went online, I saw that question. I went out to irs.gov and you type in virtual currency. We do have a landing page that talks about that. And it does say right halfway down the page, big paragraph, that this is a taxable event if you do sell it. Unfortunately, I see what the person did. They sold it and then repurchased, but that's basically like selling stock. It comes under the same thing, basis of assets. So yeah, unfortunately, that person has a taxable event that they're just gonna have to deal with. And there's no backtracking, you know, and a lot of things, and I only say this, we can't change the tax law. We get our tax law from Congress. So a lot of people ask, like, why unemployment compensation is not, has an exclusion for 2021. Why aren't we having the advanced child tax credit again? If that gets passed and sent down to us, then we make those adjustments. But when the law is written, it's written in all things have an ending date, and they had an ending date. And unfortunately, just like with the virtual currency, you sold it unless Congress makes a thing that you can go backtrack and do, and not have to pay tax. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen. So, we have to go by what the rule is.
Yep, thank you for clarifying. It's definitely something that's growing and not as understood. So we appreciate you clarifying that. Our next question comes from Jason. He received an SBA disaster recovery loan for his business after Hurricane Ida. He's wondering, is this taxable, an SBA disaster loan?
Erica?
I'm going to pass to you, Glenn.
Yeah. I was going to try to pass it to you. I was trying to get some of the information on the SBA disaster recovery loans. There's so many different things. I don't believe that it's actually is taxable because it is a loan. And I know from a former organization that I was in, they had received the Paycheck Protection Program money. And when you filed the paperwork, they wound up not having to pay any of it back. It may be the same thing with the SBA. It's going to require some research into both the SBA, depending on the type of loan that you have, and also with IRS. Unless Michael has any information out there that, because I know you follow a lot of what IRS state follows what IRS does on this. And I know that they actually did ask that question, would it be state tax exempt?
Yes, we do. We do tend to follow suit with you guys. I don't want to give any incorrect answers, so that is something I would want to look into to make sure I'm giving the correct answer. You can call the number I provided in our presentation, 609-292-6400. Speak to somebody in our call center. They can do the research while you're on the phone and give you an accurate, correct answer.
And Mike, I'm also including our link to a lot of that information concerning grants. A lot of our COVID relief grants were tax exempt. So like your PPP loan that Glenn mentioned, some SBA loans, as well as generally when it comes to grants. However, like Glenn mentioned, depending upon the type of grant and loan, it could be taxable. So I am including a link on New Jersey side that covers a lot of this in particular, so you guys can take a look at what type of grant and loan you have to see if it's taxable or exempt.
Thank you, Talisha.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Jason, I'm going to follow up with the SBA as well to see if they have any insight on that. So between all of us putting our heads together, we'll get you an answer to that. Our next question comes from Vishwa. He has a full-time student who's a dependent of his. He had some gig income that totaled about $700. He's trying to confirm if this is taxable or not. Glenn or anyone else, could you speak to the limit on that?
Yes. Since the amount is below the filing threshold, I think it's like $12,200 approximately, or $12,550. They don't have to file. However, as I wrote in the chat box, if there was any federal income tax withheld, they may wish to file a tax return to get a refund of that money. So even though they don't have to file, if they do have federal tax withholding, they should file if they would like to get that money back, and they can do an online 1040 through free file. It will cost nothing. And if, let's say there was just $50 withheld, that's still a $50 refund they would receive for free. Same thing if there's any state tax withheld and it's As long as
Yes,
it's over $5, do you have the same rule, Michael, in the state? It has to be over $5 for
I believe
us to automatically send it out. Other than, if it's less, you have to request it.
if it's under $1, I believe you have to write in.
Under $1 for this. Okay.
Yeah, but yes, our filing threshold for somebody who's single would be $10,000. So yes, they don't have to file legally, but of course, if they have withholdings taken out, they're going to want to file because that's the only way to get that money back.
Sure.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That it is now 7:15, so unfortunately, that's all the time we have for questions. But fortunately, like I mentioned, our panelists were really good about answering them in the chat box. So please check to see if they responded there. We've also been tracking the questions and answers. So if you might have missed anything, please just follow up with our office and we'll get you that information. Also, if we didn't get to your question, if it was something that was very particular to your personal situation, we'll follow up with directly and see if we can get that clarified in the next day or so. Please look out for an email from me with links to a lot of the information discussed today and a copy of the slide deck as well. We will send that out to you as soon as possible. And of course, our office is here to be a resource for you. So like I mentioned before, you can give us a call or go to our website for assistance. Our website is sherrill.house.gov. And our phone number is 973-526-5668. That's all we have for this evening. We cannot thank our panel enough for being generous with your time tonight and answering so many questions and giving out a lot of helpful information. So we really appreciate your time. And I hope everyone else has a great evening and we look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.